What is the most common insult from other NHL fan bases that you hear as a Leafs fan?
First round exit.
There's a lot, but 100% has to be first round exit.
First round exit.
Where do you start when talking about the Maple Leafs? Their turbulent years under an incompetent owner? The fact that they haven't won a cup since 1967? Both good options, but there's something arguably weighing heavier on the minds of Leafs fans right now. The fact that the team hasn't won a playoff series since 2004. For a lot of us, that was before we could even remember.
My first memory of the Leafs has got to be Matt Sundin coming back to Toronto and scoring the shootout winner.
I kind of remember those 2010 teams.
My first memory of the Leafs, Matt Sundin's 500th goal.
So if many of us can't even remember the last time the Leafs won a round, that begs the question, why are we fans?
You know, I ask myself that a lot.
I'm a Leafs fan because, well, it was just kind of inherited to me being a Leaf fan.
That's the million-dollar question. Family got me into it, and now we're kind of stuck.
So maybe Leafs fandom is more akin to a hereditary disease than anything else. But at the end of the day, it's still our choice. And that choice comes at a cost.
The first time that I remember the Leafs broke my heart was probably when they traded away Vesa Toskala.
I'm going to go a little bit outside the box. I'm going to say the Kessel trade.
Okay, well, I guess the easy answer, 2013 against the Bruins.
2013. Now this is where our story really begins. After a lockout shortened the regular season to only 48 games, when all was said and done, the Leafs found themselves in a playoff spot for the first time in nearly a decade. Their first round opponent? The Boston Bruins.
When we made the playoffs, it was weird. It was a feeling I had never felt before.
We knew we weren't the best team. We knew Boston was the better team. They were a more established team. They were a cup team.
After falling down 3-1 in the series, Toronto fought back to force a Game 7 at TD Garden.
Game 7 was both the happiest I had ever been, and then 10 minutes later, the saddest I've ever been.
After going up 4-1 over Boston with only 14 minutes left to play, the Leafs did the unthinkable.
Taking us there, puck comes free, score!
Game 7, where do I even start?
I remember just bawling my eyes out. I ripped my jersey off. It was heartbreaking.
You don't really expect a team to give up 3 goals within 13 minutes and then lose in overtime.
And then it all falls apart for Kessel and the Maple Leafs.
What followed this monumental choke was a period in which the Leafs tried, and failed, to stay competitive, and then eventually gave in to a full rebuild.
It was a tough watch.
It was this weird, turbulent time where it just went back to that 2010 period where start out good and then 18-wheeler falling off the cliff.
You kind of became accustomed to the Leafs not making the playoffs.
But then, at the start of the 2016-17 season, something strange happened. The Leafs got good again.
Honestly, the 2016-17 season might have been one of my favorites as a Leafs fan.
It just felt like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it was just magical to see that, whoa, the Leafs can be a good team.
The Leafs, led by rookie sensations Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and Austin Matthews, somehow managed to squeak their way into the last wildcard spot in the East, setting up a first-round battle with the President's Trophy-winning Washington Capitals.
Going into it, I didn't really have any expectations because, like I said, it was kind of just a treat that we made the playoffs.
I think a lot of fans, me, myself, even thought, whatever happens, happens. We're the 8th seed. Let's just make it competitive.
It was a series I expected them to get dominated in, and they didn't, and I was okay with that.
The Leafs fought hard, but in the end, they were just outmatched. Washington won the series in 6, but Leafs fans were as optimistic as ever about the future. The next 2 seasons that followed would see the Leafs put up back-to-back 100-point seasons and back-to-back playoff matchups with their old foe, the Bruins.
That series, again, it was not as fun.
Yeah, you come in with a little bit higher expectations, but this is still a young team.
That whole series, I was just like, we're not going to win it.
Once again, Toronto fought back from down 3-1 in the series to force a Game 7, which they would once again lose by blowing a third-period lead. But there was still hope in Leafs Nation.
This was a team that could have done something, even though they had little experience and just wasn't meant to be.
The next year, the Leafs got a chance to exercise their demons with another matchup versus Boston. And exercise their demons, they did not.
The 2019 series was one of the times I've been the most mad with the Leafs.
That one was definitely the heartbreaking one.
That series was the most I've been disappointed in the team because that was the first series I had felt like going into it, we had a chance.
Yeah, that one I was not happy with at all.
Another year, another first-round exit, as the Leafs once again fall to Boston in 7. The 2019-20 season saw the Leafs struggle, finishing 8th in the East by the time COVID halted the NHL season. But 5 months later, under almost dystopian circumstances, the Leafs were set to face the 9th-place Blue Jackets in a 5-game series.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty exciting just to have sports on again.
The play-in series was a weird one, obviously. You know, you start in the middle of a pandemic.
There's no fans, you're playing it in a neutral arena. It was just a really weird playoffs, and obviously because of the circumstances.
Heading into Game 4, the Leafs were down 2-1 in the series, and with 4 minutes left in the game, they found themselves trailing by 3 goals, staring elimination right in the face. Dead in the water, right? Wrong.
Yeah, that game is one of those that I think will live for many Leaf fans as one of the greatest moments they've seen.
Yeah, Game 4 of the Columbus series was like an experience you don't get as a Leafs fan.
First goal goes in.
As far as Snipes won, and I'm yelling, don't you dare, Leafs, don't you fucking dare.
Then Hyman scores to make it 3-3, and you can't even describe the moment. It's just pure joy.
Right then and there, I was like, we're winning in overtime.
Centering pass, Tavares right in front, quick shot, score!
I probably scared my dog, my family, like it was nuts, it was nuts.
So after that gutsy performance to come back from down 3 in Game 4, you'd expect Toronto to come out and dominate Game 5, wouldn't you?
Not much to say. We did absolutely nothing.
In Game 5, the Leafs got shut out, and for the 4th year in a row, they lose their opening series. The next year, the Leafs had a stellar regular season, winning the COVID-spawned North Division in front of empty arenas. This led to a first-round matchup against the Montreal Canadiens, the worst regular season team to make the playoffs that year.
Maybe it was because I'd been in my home for like a year. I remember saying to people, if we don't get to the conference finals, it's a bust.
They're not a great team. I'm thinking this has got to go 5 games.
It was really starting to look like this was finally going to be the year that Toronto bumped the slump. 4 games into the series, the Leafs were up 3-1 over Montreal despite losing their captain. With 3 chances to finally move on to the second round, Toronto struck out.
Game 5 was awful. I knew from the first second the Leafs were going to lose.
Flat, effortless.
And then Game 6, I was like, well, this is it. And when Kotkaniemi put the puck in the net, I threw my TV controller so hard that it shattered.
Overtime losses in Games 5 and 6 and a feeble effort in Game 7 led the Leafs to their 5th series loss in 5 years.
In typical Leaf fashion, they never fail to amaze us.
Despite a monumental collapse against Montreal, the Leafs ran it back with the same core the next year and posted the best regular season in franchise history. Their reward? A first-round series against the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning.
That one to me, I had pretty high expectations for that series with Tampa. I felt we were neck and neck with them. We were a great team.
This could be the year that we kind of just right all the wrongs.
You're like, oh my God, they fully can do it. And they just flip me.
Toronto put up a good fight against the champs, but once again, they couldn't get it done in Game 7.
I knew we weren't going to win.
They do it again in Game 7. You think they're going to win. And then, like I said before, in typical Leaf fashion, they never fail to amaze us.
Most years where you lose Game 7, you're like, this is an issue. This one was like, we're right there. We just need a few more pieces.
For the 5th straight year, the Leafs came within 1 game of the second round. And for the 5th straight year, they came up short. This year, the Leafs will once again see Tampa in the first round, and that has left Leafs fans with some mixed feelings.
This season, and I'll say this next year, this is the best team on paper I've ever seen from the Leafs.
I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. I think if they don't get it done this year, shit is going to go down in that front office.
I think this is going to be a good year.
So that's where our story ends for now. But after years of pain and heartbreak, it begs the question, why do we keep coming back?
Again, I don't know why I'm still here. It's so hard being Leafs fan.
Honestly, it's a weird analogy to make. This is like an addiction.
How can't you be a fan? Like you've been part of this for so long, you can't give up.